In this video, let's pick it up from where we left it off. The next paragraph says, after Mikhail's ascent to power, Kartha's politics and economics were reoriented towards display of brute political power and so on and so forth. Obviously, this whole paragraph is meant to be in favor of the applicant, and the applicant is going to use in its favor, as it is full of many lines which are speaking to the bad character of the Kartha's president or prime minister, right? However, one thing that you can counter is, from the respondent point of view, that when this line says people welfare was made secondary as the new dispensation and so on and so forth, so what you can reply with is that each country decides its own destiny. No country need follow a path that is followed by previous countries or so-called advanced countries, and also it is a country's right to decide where it wants to go. Why should economic progress be prioritized over justice and the character of the nation? So when it says that the people's welfare was made secondary, so don't be apologetic about it. Always say that okay, we have our reasons, our nation is different, we don't want to follow anyone, and we don't want to prioritize economic progress over justice. Injustice was happening to our people across the border, and we made sure that we addressed that injustice. That was more important to us than any economic progress. So this can be stated by the respondent. Next is obviously this whole paragraph that you will see in this Moot proposition is in favor of the applicant, and once you read it, you need not, one need not point out why. It is quite in the face, as they say. However, the last line, but the atrocities against ethnic Carthage in so and so did not stop. Mr. Jenks tweeted on so and so that Seplica is a sovereign state and no other state can start Seplica from charting its own defense and development trajectory. This line is obviously in favor of the respondents, as because Seplica was unable to stop whatever atrocities were happening against ethnic Carthage in Seplica. So whatever happened was Seplica's fault only. This can be stated. Next, on January 1, so and so, so and so, so and so. Obviously, this is a very neutral thing, and no one may be able to use this fact in his or her favor. However, these things, that ethnic Carthage in Seplica should not be allowed to establish an independent state, and Seplica should terminate the efforts to form defense alliance, right? So this can be used by Seplica in its favor. How? It can be argued that all these terms were contrary to sovereignty of a nation, right? So please do read upon the concept of sovereignty of a nation. That sovereignty means that any nation will be able to form any type of alliances with any other country, right? That is one of the fundamental part of a sovereign nation. So use this sovereignty argument and say that these actually conditions were hoax, these were not real conditions, as obviously no one can impose any condition on sovereignty of a nation, as it is a very unfair substance to show in any argument, right? Secondly, Kartha never helped in maintenance of law and order and only gave inflammatory speeches, right? I mentioned what the whole argument. Further, that demand was not made that no further atrocity should be made against Carthage, right? So always, Kartha is saying that this happened to our people and this happened to ethnic Carthage in Seplica. Still, when the moment of truth came, what were the conditions? That they may not be allowed to establish an independent state, and Seplica should terminate the efforts to forge a defense alliance, right? Nowhere has Mr. Mikhail in his Sepal operation that his demand is that there should be no atrocities. That is not demanded. Although throughout their whole argument, they are saying that okay, Seplica is liable because Carthage are being killed in his country. Still, when the moment of truth came, this was not a demand made that stop the atrocities. The demands are something totally different, right? So this obviously can be used by Seplica in its favor. Furthermore, what Replica can say is that Replica is a very new nation, having attained independence in 1995 only. They are also economically and territorially weaker, and therefore they are more in need of alliances than other nations. So therefore they should be appreciated. In fact, Replica would have taken help from these countries to tackle problem of radical groups in the country, right? So what Replica can say is actually our intention to tie up with other country was to get more training and more manpower or technology transfer or more weapons to actually fight the radical groups in our country who were killing the ethnic Carthians. I mean, it is not obviously given in the Moot core problem, but still, since it is open-ended, you can say it in your favor, and this would be, in fact, in my opinion, a very intelligent argument that actually our intention for alliances were for your only, for your benefit. I mean, you were arguing that you want these killings to stop, and when we wanted to form alliances to stop that, you started attacking us, right? So this can be one argument made by Replica. Then this para, the international response was divided. So I mean, see, no point in arguing that I had 40% in my favor, you had 52% in my favor, because this is all dependent upon international politics. International politics does not decide the legalities of any attack or any injustice, right? So you should not dwell too much into this. Next is obviously on so and so Carthage troops entered. This again, this whole paragraph is very neutral and nobody can use any line except this one, that Mr. Mikhail says that use force in a way that instills fear in the heart of enemy, right? So the Replica can say that the objective of this attack was not to manage threat of nuclear plant, which the Carthage says, or to save ethnic Carthians. It was to show military might, because what Mr. Mikhail says, that use force in a way that instills fear in the hearts of enemy. So therefore intention was not positive but was negative, and to show its military might. What the counter can be made in such a circumstance is that again this was a jumla or a puffing up only. I did not mean it literally. Obviously military generals and leaders in time of war do make such statements, and it does not basically means that our intention is bad. Next line is, next para, Carthian force advanced into Kobara and also brought GPP under their control. Now this is very neutral, but let's come to this one. The concussions, however, led to a widespread belief that there might be radiation issues because the plant was anyway not maintained according to IAEA guidelines and suggested standards. This obviously is an argument that can be made by the respondent in its favor or the applicant in its favor, that there was radiation issues because of concussions. So this can be used by one country, but the plant was in any way not matched by IAEA guidelines. This can be used by another country. However, try to focus on this line, this phrase, widespread belief. It is not a conclusive evidence. Whatever this line says, and whoever this country, whatever country uses this line in its favor, be it Cartha or Replica, always focus on this one, that it is a widespread belief only, right? So therefore it is a belief, it has no evidentiary value, and no country can use it in his or favor. You can actually give an example of Riya Chakrabarti, that it was a widespread belief that Riya Chakrabarti murdered Sushant Singh Rajput, whereas in reality it had no substance and no court has even convicted or even framed charges against Riya Chakrabarti, right? Now I'll just stop this video at this juncture, and I'll continue with that in the following paragraphs in my coming videos. In the meantime, please like, share, subscribe these videos and share it with your friends, and thank you for this.